Hello, everyone. Welcome to our August 2024 Higher Education Tableau User Group meeting. We're excited you could join us today. We have a fabulous packed agenda. So we're going to start off with our announcements, followed by Meet a Community Member with Ashleigh Morris from Harvard Medical School. That will be followed by tips and tricks about finding my favorite SQL functionality in Tableau Prep by Deborah Takash from Rutgers, Newark. And then we'll have Matt Beeman from UNC-Chapel Hill talk about how to not get left behind, get your thinking right about Tableau Prep. We're also going to have another swag raffle today. So if you were here last month, you'll know what I mean. And if not, then you'll be delightfully surprised. And we'll follow that with a wrap up and chat. So I will let anyone who has announcements come off mute. If you have job postings, you can put them in the chat or on our Slack group before we get into our announcements. So anybody? No takers? Okay. Well, then I'll let Roshni make our first announcement.
So we have HETUG meetings scheduled through May 14th. So that includes up to and past the Tableau conference. All of these dates are in the on the higher ed page, which I'm now throwing into the chat. Note there is a date change for the October session. It was originally October 15th. It's now going to be October 22nd. We're going to make that update and add all of our 2025 pages tonight or tomorrow, and then we'll send out an email to everyone who is subscribed to the HETUG. We'll put it on the HETUG site clearly and also send it out to the Higher Ed Tug Slack channel. So get ready to register for a whole bunch of things, at least to hold the spots on your calendars. And even more important than that, if you want to present at any of these sessions, we need some content. So fill out the present at HETUG form, which we'll throw in the chat in just a minute. The dates are here. We don't plan on changing them. We hope. And one thing to note for 2025, we will be moving to Wednesdays. So hopefully that still works for a whole lot of people. And if it doesn't, we will still be recording. So yeah, so stay tuned and thank you guys for making it possible for us to be able to schedule all of these out.
All right, our next big announcement is our HETUG Sticker Palooza. We want you to create stickers and submit them so that or I guess I should say, we want you to create sticker designs and submit them so that we can then have stickers printed out and send them to all of you. So we have some content guidelines. Of course, the sticker needs to be appropriate. It cannot be offensive, and that's going to be subjectively judged by us, your HETUG co-leads. The sticker does not have to include HETUG, but it should be data related. So think about all the stickers you would see at like a Tableau conference or something and kind of get your ideas going from there. And third, no copyright images. I think that goes without saying. So we also have some design guidelines, and these are based on the best practice guidelines for the sticker printer that we're using. So we'd like for you to use a 300 DPI or vector. I don't know what that means. .ai or .eps file format for high resolution printing, or you can use a PDF or high resolution PNGs. Those also print well. And if it looks blurry on your screen, know that the stickers will look blurry when they're printed. So the submission deadline is August 20th, 2024. That's only a week away. So definitely get moving on this. We would like you to email your submissions to higheredtug@gmail.com. That way they'll come to all of the co-leads. And that way we can, review them to make sure they meet the content guidelines.
My one worry, I think there's a huge benefit to meeting weekly.
Just make sure in the email you include your name, your school or affiliation, and a 1 to 2 sentence story about your inspiration behind your submission. And then the stickers, when they are printed, are going to be 2 inches by 2 inches max. They can be any shape. So as you can see in this background, lots of different shapes to choose from. So we want you to be creative and we want you to get excited. And yeah, we can't wait to see what you come up with.
And if you have something that's just a little sketchy, feel free to still send it in. We can work with you to try to get it a little bit more polished or send it out to the group to see if someone has better design skills than me, Jenny, or Andrew, and who can get it a little bit more polished.
Yeah, I am not artistic at all, but I will say I was playing around with some AI to design a sticker idea. So I think that's allowed.
All right. And I love the comments here. So send your sketchy sketch. I'm going to add for your sticker. Um, and yeah, all three of us we have bad design skills. That's apparently what we're looking in the chat. So our while we don't have the forms yet to request your stickers, we will soon. In the meantime, we do have a swag raffle. So I'm posting in the Slack what the prizes themselves are. The prizes are, see if I can actually open this in the right tab, um, are a year's worth of e-learning um, on the tab or through the Tableau e-learning program right here. So there's a bunch of different courses that are available. They're all sort of like hands-on. It shows you some information, and then you can you actually get to practice doing whatever task it is that is part of that class or that segment or lesson. There are some sample courses available if you want to take a look. Try not to take a look now, which is kind of silly because we have a lot of content here, and you probably still want to know what it is you're entering for. But too bad. Pay attention to the meeting. We have a link. You can also scan the QR code at the end of the meeting. We will be spinning the wheel of names, and depending on how many people we get checked into this Tableau user group meeting, right now we're around 160. Um, that I don't remember what that translates to a number of licenses, but it's a good number of licenses, probably about 10, give or take. So if we can get more people to come into this meeting at some point before we close out, before we actually draw names, we'll be able to give away a few more of these 1 year e-learning licenses. So enter, tell your friends to come to the meeting. They can also enter. We'll be showing this QR code and sharing the links in the chat again a couple more times during the meeting. And that's it.
All right. So that means it's time for Meet a Community Member. This month, we are going to meet Ashleigh Morris, who is a senior business analyst at Harvard Medical School. So prior to joining the BA team, she worked in finance for the first 10 years of her career in a corporate setting. She leads a team of 3 fabulous Northeastern full-time co-ops and really helps us to advance our skills day in and day out. So outside of work, she volunteers for her sorority at the national level and helps run the Boston Marathon finish line. Wow. That's pretty impressive for me. And she volunteers with a local organization dedicated to growing service leaders. She also loves to bake and travel, same here, and spends an inordinate amount of time at the Boston Logan Airport. So Ashleigh, thank you for joining us this month.
Thank you. And yes, I am currently at Logan right now. Roshni and I have been talking a lot while I've been at Logan the past couple of weeks.
Wow, I don't even know how you manage. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and describing your role in your team?
Sure. So hi, everybody. I am Ashleigh Morris. I'm a senior business analyst at Harvard Medical School, specifically in our Office for External Education. So we focus on working with doctors, nurses, etc., who already have their degrees, and we do a lot of continuing education as well as master's programs. Our team is primarily focused on financial data, enrollment data, marketing data, and everything in between. So we've been using Tableau about 2 years now and really have been getting into it for the past year, I would say. One of the running jokes on our team is the leaps and bounds we have made in the last year, which I think we'll show off some of today with what I'm going to share. But we work with about 175 colleagues, and we really go up the ladder, down the ladder, all across with who we're making our dashboards for. So it can be senior leaders, it can be staff, and everyone in between.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the types of data that you work with? Because it sounds like it's a lot of different ones.
It is, yes. So we work with the general ledger data from the Harvard's accounting system. We work with budgeting data. We work with all enrollment metrics. So from how long it takes someone to complete an application to how many days on average between their application submission and their decision whether or not they've been accepted or denied into a program. We work with Google Analytics data. We work with marketing traffic source data and everything in between. So we're really not focused on one thing. We're kind of jack of all trades when it comes to our data. And soon we're going to be incorporating learning management system data out of Canvas, edX, as well as hopefully we're going to be getting some more data from our financial systems too to enhance our reporting even further.
Very cool. So how do you use Tableau at work?
So at work, it is becoming our primary reporting tool. This has been a goal of ours for the past 2 years, and it's finally starting to come true. We currently have 16 public dashboards within our organization, averaging about 50 to 60 views per dashboard per month. Most of our dashboards are targeted. We have very specific senior leadership dashboards, and then we also have very specific product line dashboards. So for our continuing education group, they have a very specific overview dashboard of here's metrics they want. So we're really trying to push more to get more people into Tableau. We currently have, I believe it's 55 licenses across our 175 colleagues, but every day more people are asking for access. So we're working very closely with Central HMS to be able to do that for folks and really give them the metrics they're looking for.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to start with that strong base and build on it.
Yes.
So what is a favorite Tableau project that you've worked on?
So one, and I actually think Roshni has it to show. So recently, our team did we call it basically a Wisdom Wednesday at our department, and we put together this Analytics Unleashed dashboard. So we really wanted to show some of the skills we have. This is all fake data, so don't take anything seriously here. And really be able to show how we can do highlighting, how we're able to do report date changes, and really all the different visualizations we are able to do. So this has been a giant team effort. So all my co-ops who are on the call really helped out with this one.
Did you say Wisdom Wednesday?
Yep. So every 6-ish weeks at our department, we do a Wisdom Wednesday. So every team kind of takes a turn on who wants to present, and we got the lucky July ticket to be able to present.
That is such a great idea. I love that.
Yeah, it really helps. And I think we had about 75 colleagues on the call, which was great. And, some people knew what we were doing and others, they had no idea what we were doing. So we really were able to help people gain knowledge of Tableau. And now we have even more people coming to us asking for information and for data.
So how long have you been using Tableau, and how did you learn how to use it?
So I first started using Tableau 4 years ago in a master's class when I was getting my master's at Harvard. So I learned in a 3-week intensive course. And then it took about another 2 years after that for us to actually implement the tool within the organization. And now even 4 years later, we're still looking to implement. So a lot of it was self-taught. And then a lot of it on its own was kind of through coursework and really seeing the benefits of what we had. We spent about 3 months, I think, choosing Tableau as the tool for our organization with a lot of trial and error of other tools and really kind of finding the one that works best for us.
Do you have a favorite Tableau feature?
This is tough. We have really lately been huge fans of parameters. We have been finding that parameters have been helping us a lot better than filters. In the Analytics Unleashed dashboard spotlight we actually used parameters instead of filters to change report dates and to change kind of the courses, as it just worked better across all of our visualizations. So it's something we're really leaning into, and filters are great. Don't get me wrong, but parameters are really, I think, the tool of the future when it comes to using Tableau.
Yeah, it's really important to understand when to use which. I agree.
Absolutely.
So is there a feature that you want to learn more about in Tableau?
I think we would love to learn more about Tableau prep, but it just, from what we've read, it doesn't necessarily meet our needs right now because we have so many live data sources. We are working to build our own data warehouse. And I think with that, Tableau prep may come in handy. But for right now, we don't have a need for it, but we've definitely been seeing a lot more courses on it, kind of a lot more presentations, and it's something we want to explore for our next step.
Well, I'd say you're in the right place today then, because we're doing Tableau prep all day here.
Absolutely.
So what is one thing you wish you could go back in time and tell Tableau newbie you?
You will figure it out. Don't freak out. You will get there. I think, we all have that moment of what is this? What am I doing? How do I do this? And I have to say, between online forums, community support, you will get where you're going. So I think if I knew that 4 years ago, I probably would have done a little bit better in my course than I necessarily did and gotten that A instead of the A minus. But, I think it will come. Give yourself grace and that you will get where you want to go.
I bet you wish you had the HETUG Slack group when you were in that class, huh?
I wish I had a lot more resources in that class during COVID.
Oh gosh. So do you ever use Tableau outside of work? And if so, how?
I would love to say I do. I am the type who works way too many hours. My staff will tell you all the time that I am working way too much. So I don't necessarily have time to viz for fun. However, I do spend a lot of my time on Tableau Public, exploring and learning new things and new ways of doing stuff. So not necessarily visiting for fun, but visiting to enhance what we're doing in our day-to-day at work.
I absolutely think that counts as using Tableau outside of work. Inspiration is yes. All right, so is there anything else you'd like to share before we go into your dashboard spotlight?
No, and I think as we go into the dashboard spotlight, like I said, I have 3 fabulous Northeastern co-ops. So if you are looking for any full-time intern positions, Northeastern has a great co-op program. They work 40 hours and they work almost harder than some full-time employees we have. So definitely want to shout out to those 3 lovely ladies who are on the call, who have been working nonstop for me around the clock. So I couldn't do it without them.
Well, welcome to your 3 co-ops.
I'm going to butt in here and say we've also had a Northeastern co-op and she was amazing too. So if you're in the area and know co-op programs, whether through Northeastern or other schools, like definitely take a look because those kids are like magical. They're really energized and really like want to learn and, produce output as well, which is great. It's just a wonderful experience for us on the other side, on the staff side of it.
Absolutely.
Well, Roshni has got your dashboard spotlight up. So start off by telling us why you chose this biz to share and what struck you about it and how has it inspired you?
So I think, the primary reason I wanted to share it was it's because something we did as a team. This wasn't just my job. This was all of us together figuring out what's the best thing to do. When we actually presented the dashboard, we went through the whole iteration diagramming phase. And this is actually version, I think, 5 or 6 of where we landed. And so it really shows where we're headed and kind of some of the features we're hoping to give to our unit. We really have this dream of just doing one dashboard instead of having 20 dashboards for every individual, request that we get. So from doing this, we really hope that we get to that point and we're able to answer everyone's questions on one. So I think a couple of things just to highlight on this. So the first thing is, Roshni, if you can hit the waffle in the top right there, one feature that we've really been able to use a lot of is this date of reference feature. So we have folks who request from us month end, year end, as of the 12th of a month. And so giving the flexibility to change the report date that they're looking at has been huge. Our finance team, they always want to look at everything month end, quarter end, etc. But someone may just care about through yesterday. So using this data reference parameter, we're able to let everyone select what they're looking at when they're looking at it. So it really went a long way. And this has been a long request that we were finally able to implement. I think the next thing, if you highlight over total revenue, we were able to really highlight viz and tooltips. We have so many people who are asking us for, well, how can I see the drill down into the data? Just highlight over it. So being able to bring that straight up to everyone and show them firsthand, I think really went a very long way, and being able to be like, wow, we can see data in multiple ways. So we're doing a lot of that. And, even just looking at things like box plots, advanced statistical analysis is somewhere we're starting to go, but box plots were a good kind of easy to explain way of doing things. So we're taking the next step. I don't know about anyone else on this call, but so many people love their Excel calculations. They love their Excel visualizations. And so many times people are like, we'll just copy Excel. Well, we don't want to just copy Excel. We want to take Excel and take it to that next level. And I think that's what this dashboard has really done for us. So I think the last thing I want to highlight, Roshni, if you go back to the waffle and then go over to course. So on the bottom left there, you'll see historical courses. And this has been a visualization that we spent, I think, myself and two of my co-ops 6 hours sitting in my office trying to figure out. So this has been our biggest win. We wanted to be able to show the historical iterations, the current iteration, and then what's that historical average, which seems like it should be straightforward, but I think our calculation ended up coming out to like 35 lines by the time all was said and done. And so this has been something, and I don't know about everyone else, people just throw numbers out. Okay, let's budget $10,000. Let's have a target enrollment of 50. Well, how do you get that number? What was your average? So now we're able to give people, here's your historical average. Here's your historical spend, and actually give them those data points to use. So these have really been, some of those graphs that we've been putting through the kind of waters to test them out. And now we've really put them full blown into production. And I think it also just showcases the teamwork of having 3 of us in an office on Harvard's campus for hours trying to figure out how do we make this happen. So we're really, definitely getting our skills better. And this is really that first step to the future. So we were able to show this, and even just the histogram and the average days. These are all things that we have here, and we're now translating with our real data compared to this ChatGPT set. So I think, it's really just shows that through iteration and improvement and really working together, we have taken it from when we were just creating some simple bar charts to now having these year-over-year KPIs that shift every time you shift the date, every time you shift the month, and really have them go the next way. So really proud of where we came, and then just being able to show this off to all of our colleagues has definitely kind of been a highlight. And now they're requesting, hey, can we get that? Can we have this? So it did its trick, and we've gotten people to where we want to be.
Can I just say too that I love the formatting of your drop-down menu there. That is the care and the attention you gave to something so small. And I feel like that makes a big difference on the user experience side of things.
Yeah, we do this waffle drop down a lot. And the other thing we do is a lot of buttons that are very clean along the top. So we've been alternating back and forth between the two, testing the waters with our teams to see what people like. And so far, it's a 50-50 split. So we'll see what we end up keeping. But I have to say, one great design tip I have is we actually built this whole background on Canva, and then we just dropped all of the vizzes in. So it definitely helps keep it clean and has taken us a long way. And yeah, Roshni also put in the chat, but the 16 different ideas to visualize KPIs, we use that day in and day out to see what's the next best thing. So, and we use a lot of those methods here. But yeah, no, so this was a great team effort, and definitely a highlight, of kind of how we've used Tableau as far as we've come in the past year.
And then my last question about this dashboard is, what is one thing that you learned about it that you think others might find interesting or informative?
I think the biggest thing that we learned throughout this process is that less is more. Just because you have 10,000 plus rows of data, 100 columns, you do not have to use it all. You do not have to share it all. But figure out your story, what you want to show, and then go from there. And the rest will kind of, tell the story itself.
Such good advice. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, just thank you for having me today. And if anyone has any questions on the dashboard, please reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And, I think, like I said, don't be afraid to iterate, and don't be afraid to work as a team to get the job done, because more brains are always better than one.
Wonderful advice. Well, thank you so much, Ashleigh. If anyone is interested in being our Meet a Community member in the future, please let us know, because we would love to have you. And I'm going to turn it over to Andrew to introduce our next speaker.
Hey, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Deborah Takash, an information specialist from Rutgers University in Newark. She is going to be presenting on finding my favorite SQL functionality in Tableau prep. So Deborah Takash is from Rutgers University in New York and started working with higher education in 2021 using MS SQL, Tableau prep, and Tableau desktop extensively. Her team develops internal dashboards for campus leadership, and data extracts for external projects. Regardless of the outputs, Deborah's ultimate goal is always translating data into effective visual storytelling. Prior to working in higher ed, Deborah worked in database and business intelligence development across several industries, including CRM, telecom, healthcare, and energy. While she's been based in New Jersey her entire life, she can pump her own gas when it's necessary. She loves movies, birding, and doing jigsaw puzzles. Over to you, Deborah. Looking forward to your presentation. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. So, hello, my name is Deb Takash, as I was introduced. My background, as I said, I've worked with Tableau Prep and Desktop now pretty extensively since I've started in higher ed about 3 years ago. But prior to that, I worked with Microsoft SQL for several years across several different industries, but always in the database programming and T-SQL areas. And over the years, I've had to work with a lot of extracts or created bringing in the ETL and extracts that I had to solve some common data issues using SQL Server. And I wanted to make sure that I could use some of the tips and tricks I developed in SQL in Tableau Prep. I found Tableau Prep to be a very easy tool and simple tool for transforming data and joining in data sets. So I wanted to make sure that I could get past my common issues that I've seen in the past. So what I'm going to share today is just a few quick and dirty tricks that I have had over the years and how to do them in SQL and in SQL, and then how to do them in Tableau Prep, and some ideas on how to improve Tableau Prep if you don't see what you need to get done, or to see the functionality that you want. And so hopefully this will inspire you to take some of the tips and hacks that you've done in the past and try them in Tableau Prep. So let's see what happens when I try to do some of my bag of tricks. One of the first issues that I've had dealing with data is losing a leading zero in a numeric field, or where it's been a text field when it's being interpreted as a numeric field. I've seen this chronic behavior in where data is shared back and forth with Excel, with CSV files and text delimited files. And it's where somebody has opened a CSV and saved in an Excel, and there goes the leading zeros. This is a common problem that I found working with zip codes in the Northeast. You know, somebody would end up with a zip code of 10 if you're in New York City, lower Manhattan. So there's got to be a way to get those leading zeros back. In SQL Server, I found an easy way to do it was just to pad back the zeros, especially since I knew the length of the field. So in a zip code where I might have lost 1 to 4 of the leading zeros, I would just pad them back using a write function. And in prep, I found that the write function there pretty much was the same, gave me the same results. So it was a 1-for-1 easy substitution. So anytime I know that I've lost an ID code or a course number, I can always pad back the zeros in my prep flow. Another frequent request that I get is to find the first or last character, first or last record, the last sale, the first term for a student. And in SQL, I was able to do that by using the row number function with a partition and an order by. So I could say generate a row number over the partition of student ID and order it by the year and the term number as in ascending order, so that I would be able to get a row number for each of the terms that the student existed, but the first one would always be the first and earliest term based on year and term number. So if I wanted just to get the first, I would be able to always select by the row number equal to 1. And that would give me just the first terms. And in prep, there is a way to create a calculated field using a partition function and the order by and row number So I could still partition by student ID and order by the year term in ascending order and assign it a row number so that I would be able to get the same row number per student per term and select one as the earliest one in each case. So it was the same functionality, slightly different terms and syntax, but the results were the same. Now, the third feature or request I get a lot is I need to be able to find certain subset of values in a field that matches my list. So say I need to group together or find states in the Northeast or zip codes that are in particular region in New Jersey. Or in this case, it's just a simple selection of I need to find the STEM schools amongst all the codes at the university. So I know that the codes for the schools are engineering and science. So I want to be able to, in SQL, it's very easy to do because I could do a where in statement and say, give me the student in the code where the student code is in one of the two STEM schools. And that would give me, of all the students in all the schools that they are in, just the ones that are in engineering and science and STEM schools. Well, the in function, while it was added to the Tableau desktop software, it was never added to the Tableau prep. And I thought that was extremely odd because I use this constantly in SQL, and I do most of my data prep in prep, not in Tableau. So it not being in Tableau prep was going to be an issue. So I needed to find some alternatives because I use this a lot. Now, for a smaller list like the one in my example, I can just do an or statement and a series of or statements and say if it's school code is or in engineering or is science, then it's a STEM school. Otherwise, it's not STEM. But this could be an issue when I have to look at longer lists, say the states in the tri-state area, or zip codes that make up Northern Jersey in each of the counties, or if I wanted to look at the countries in South America or Europe. So one of the ways that I found to get a alternative solution is using the contains function in Tableau Prep. That syntax of that is it's a contains, and you search for within a string for a particular substring, and it will return a true if the given string is found in substring is found in the string. So if I take my scenario and say, okay, I want to look for just the codes for the English and the STEM schools, I place them codes themselves within a delimiter that's not in my data so that I know that I'm only looking for a concrete set of codes. And I say, okay, I build a string of the engineering codes, and then I can go through the records and look for the school code in each of the records. And if it's true, then it's STEM. Otherwise, it's not STEM. And that also allows me, this allows me to also create a parameter where I don't have to actually go into the calculated field and change my string each time I want to look for something different, or, excuse me, I can create a parameter, call it featured schools, and say, I want to look for just these engineering schools. And I can define it as a parameter so that I just have to change it in one place in the parameter interface. I don't have to go into each calculated field or any place that I'm using this string and change it in there. I just can change it in one location. So I thought it was an effective way to do that, to use parameters. And that's just one way that I've done looking for values in a value list. There's alternative ways to do it if you're familiar with regular expressions. I did found another alternative on the Tableau community pages where somebody was suggesting to use regular expressions. And they noted as well that the functionality is in Tableau desktop, but not in Tableau prep. So what they did was they built a solution and show how it would be done with an or statement, as well as just using a regex match function in order to find what countries were in Europe and which countries were in South America. And this brings up a good point to show, talk about Tableau community forum, where, and this is the actual page where that person presents the problem, and somebody offered the solution to use the registered expression function. It's a great place to find, to post an issue or to find suggestions. You can vote for a top solution. You can upvote ideas to add and improve the product itself, like maybe, hey, add the in function in prep. But besides looking in a community, I find that one of the best ways to, if I have a problem, is to Google it. You find a lot of the solutions in demos in YouTube, but I always find the best way is to also just take more than one different approach and find out what works best for me, because I can take bits and pieces of suggestions from several people, and I pick which part works for me. And the other place that's invaluable are the user groups like today and conferences that you can attend, where they do great demos and presentation on these type of topics and just ideas. So check out the expression, the recordings. I know today's being recorded, and for this and past meetings. One thing that I will say is I might want to do another topic on actually how to work with custom SQL, because you can actually run SQL directly in prep. And that will be a teaser for a future session where I can go into and actually do some demos. Thank you.
That was great. Thanks, Deb.
All right, so it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Matt Beeman from UNC-Chapel Hill, who's going to be telling us how to not get left behind by getting your thinking right about Tableau prep. So Matt has works as a Tableau report developer at the Service Center of Excellence at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. SCE is a shared services center providing core services like HR, IT, finance, and analytics to 5 operational divisions at the university. So everything needed to support a campus of 40,000 plus students and staff. Matt has 20 plus years of experience in financial and data analysis in varied industries, including healthcare, retail, nonprofit, and government. He has spent the last 6 years at UNC, where he started as a financial analyst, and he does freelance and hobby work with databases and website database applications, sports statistics, and personal finance. Matt is also a season ticket holder of the Carolina Hurricanes hockey team. Lucky, I'm so jealous. And an avid supporter of other local sports, such as the Ultimate Frisbee and minor league baseball teams. So finally, Matt is also a certified Tableau desktop specialist, and last week he became a certified Tableau data analyst as well. Congratulations.
Yes. Freshly minted data analyst.
Congratulations. That is a difficult certification to pass.
It is a very difficult certification. That is for sure.
Yes. So thanks for doing our presentation today. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so most of the stuff here just on my bio, Ginny just said. The key part here, as I know, a lot of the HETUG is in student success or institutional research. We are on the complete opposite side of that. We operate within the finance and operations division. Most of the non-academic operational side of the university. And it is a very large university. So just for reference, and when I start talking about things, is UNC does have an on-premises Tableau server multiple servers actually. And we include the data management add-on that's important for prep. I'll talk about a couple things that are only in reference to the data management add-on. So if you hear something that's like, oh, we can't do that, it might be because you need the data management add-on. And we have a central ITS group that manages many different sites across the university. We have access to, we run one of those sites, and we support 88 internal users, which is primarily analysts and mid-senior to senior level management. And then other stuff there, as Ginny said. And the whole left-right thing is because it is International Left-Handers Day. I am primarily left-handed, so that's exciting. And I did want to throw out one little tidbit for Ultimate Frisbee. Our professional Ultimate Frisbee team, the Carolina Flyers, has made the national finals in Salt Lake. So they go to Salt Lake in 2 weeks in the national semifinals. So that's exciting for them. So I actually used to work for them. So I wanted to go through a couple of Tableau resources that I reference all the time. The adage is good writers plagiarize, really good writers steal outright. So do not feel bad about grabbing resources and things from different people, especially on LinkedIn. There's some people here that I have leaned on recently with LinkedIn posts and good information about Tableau and the functions of Tableau. Including obviously the Flurlage twins and Lori Rugemer, who I got to see at Tableau conference. There are some other tugs. There is a Tableau prep tug that is quarterly and has a broad international base. So it's interesting seeing different perspectives. You get a lot of Europe and Asian representation there, and they do meet quarterly. So it's awesome that that they get to do that. And another one, which is funny because it's the Tableau newbie users group. So you're like, oh, why should I have to go to a newbie users group? I went to one of these sessions because they were very specifically a topic that we were very interested in learning about. They are very good about hitting a topic and going very in depth on that particular topic. Because a lot of times in Tableau, the devil is in the details. There's little options that you can select or some miscellaneous thing in the menu that you can select that can make the difference in your viz. So they go very in depth on those things. So even though you might not feel like a newbie, it's a lot of good learning in the Tableau newbies user group. Tableau conference sessions. This is my pitch for Tableau conference. They've set the date for next year. You should go. And I do want to make a special note today for I have some contributions today from Walla from Wheaton College, and I'll reference his stuff later. We met at Tableau conference and geeked out a little bit about Tableau prep. So I have some examples of his from prep that kind of model what we're talking about here. So the first part of this, the PowerPoint part, will be I'm calling it strategies, and it may sound a little bit like a Tableau commercial. What it is really understanding the power of what Tableau Prep Builder can do to really, like, I guess since Ashleigh was talking, maybe my audience is Ashleigh is like, hey, this is what Tableau Prep, the power of Tableau Prep really is. And I've been very excited about using Tableau Prep to prep the data since we started. I had some experience early in my career to software called Alteryx, which was very similar. It had a visual orientation. You could move things around and do your data flows that way. And it really got me excited about what you can do with a visual interface to your prep flow. So the PowerPoint will be a little more, ideas and concepts. But once we're through with the PowerPoint, I do have some practical things that I'm going to show you as far as tips, tricks, features that have helped me just keep my flows really clean. Things that are just, like I said, sometimes they're just hidden, and you don't know they're there until you know. So the first kind of strategy in terms we're talking Tableau prep is linear versus nonlinear. So I think most people, if they're not like I should say classically trained data scientists, but you think sometimes about data analysis or data prep as do this step, then do that step, then do that step. And Tableau prep really opens up that you don't have to think in a straight line, that you can do things of different orientations, you can split things up, do functions on certain things and then put them back together. Or I'll show you some examples here is we have different conversions that have to happen on different things, different actions that have to happen. We could put in a SQL statement that said, do this if it's in this category and do this if it's in this category. But seeing it be able to spread out and saying, okay, everything in this category is in this group and everything in this category is in this group. And what do we need to do with that? And then merge it all together. I'm not going to go into huge detail here about what this particular function does, but understand that not everything has to be in a straight line, right? You can split off and do a group of functions over here and split off over here, or a lot of things that I found is maybe you need to clean some of the raw data before you start blending it together because you've got to get rid of nulls or bad data points. So the power of Tableau Prep is that you can run each of these things separately and as if they're separate data engines and then combine them together. However it needs to work for your organization. So this is one of my examples in terms of we're splitting things off, doing a couple different functions, and then weaving it back in. And I just want to show you in the greater context. Again, this is that whole flow. You'll see the part up here that I just showed you. This is that whole flow, and it takes it and puts these all together. And then we have then once the data's nice and clean, we go through and we start adding reference tables. We start adding department hierarchies and references to divisions or certain nomenclature or certain lookups for different things. And then we produce some outputs based on that. So getting this to be able to do this split up like this was necessary to do that. So another thing that you get with linear versus nonlinear is you can do things in prep that are incredibly unpractical or very much more difficult to do in something like SQL. So I highlighted this box right here. This is part of one of my flows. In order to do that in SQL, that would have required 2 temp tables and 3 separately run scripts to do just what's in that black box. So we ran it. I had originally, when we started this data analysis, I had started that coding, and that script took about 3 minutes to run. And I have to do that piece with 6 times with 6 different fields. Have to do the comparison. So that script could have easily taken 20 to 25 minutes to get the data. This entire script runs in less than 1 second in Tableau Prep. So you'd be able to get to the data that you need to much faster and much simpler. And because the other part about it is if it breaks down, I can trace through, oh, it was there, rather than having to, oh, do I have to stop my SQL script and look at what that output is? And so it's easier in terms of linear versus nonlinear. And again, I'll show you, this is where it fits into the greater flow that we use for this is we have to do this instance 6 times with some different fields, some different comparison fields. And then we go in here and we, again, kind of split off, do some different functions on different things, and then combine them all together and then do some reference tables. Now is where I pull in some contributions from Walla. This is a part of his flow. This is one of his actual flows as well. It's a little more oriented towards what I think most of the people here in student data enrollment management can't speak to anything what this does, but again, it gives you an idea of you have different lines where you're cleaning, where you're aggregating, and then combining. And then I hesitate to show this because if you have small children, skittish pets, or junior data analysts that might not be ready for this, shield their eyes. This is his entire flow. and this is an extreme example. And I will say, this being his entire flow, this is one page. This thing actually goes on. There's two more pages over here to the right. And I said, this is one of those things we geeked out. He showed me this at Tableau conference, and I was like, yeah, this is amazing. This is something that he just, you know, put all together. This isn't something you just build overnight. I'm sure it's a lot of trial and error. I know sometimes it can take, a couple weeks for me to get fine tune my flows. I can't imagine how long this took him. He's here in the meeting somewhere. But it's just an idea of, this is what you can get out to get all of your data together for Tableau prep. So I'm not going to show you page 2 and page 3, but that's an idea of, if you can grasp it, that's the power of it. The second strategy or thought process in Tableau prep is synchronous versus asynchronous. One of the most important things for us is that every output flow does not have to be run at the same time. So you can have, and this is one of our examples here, is we have this personnel data. We update a personnel data report every single night. So that data comes through. There's a lot of stuff back here. It runs through the flow and it updates our personnel data every single night. And that report is for our analysts. So they need to look at, how many positions are budgeted in that department. Did they get a recent salary increase? They can look that information up really quickly. But there's other things that we have to do with this data, that rather than reinventing the wheel, rather than making a different SQL script, is there something where we need to aggregate it differently? So we have a look at just a total headcounts report. We don't need the individual data, but we're going to aggregate for total headcount by department, right? So we can split off from that data, do an aggregation, and do a count data source. Whether that's an Excel file or a Tableau data source, we can spit that out. Now, we don't have to do that every day. That personnel data comes out every day, but this one, maybe that's only once a month. So you can take the same data, and maybe you need to aggregate it monthly or quarterly for different reports, or weekly or monthly or daily or weekly. You can take the same data set and let Tableau prep do the heavy lifting of the aggregation, because we really run into the fact, being such a large university and large data sets, that if we try to bring all the raw data into a Tableau desktop workbook and then try to aggregate, we have issues. So you have to work to get the right level of aggregation. And that might mean that you need to have this separated. If you are running flows manually, if you have just Prep Builder on your desktop, you can go in and you can run just one flow, or you can, at any particular time. The data management add-on, I said this is my pitch for the data management add-on. You can run it on your server. You can schedule your flows, and again, those schedules are independent of each other. So we run this data every single night. We run this snapshot, which is just a snapshot of monthly changes. We run that once a month on the last day of the month. So we're not necessarily doing that. And then another way that it can help is, maybe there's, like, for our personnel data, there's different lenses or different types of report that people want to look at. Do they want to look at head counts? Mentioned that one before. Do they want to look at just vacancy counts? How many positions are open, closed? Or maybe if you have the data, hey, are we hiring for this position actively right now? And then another analysis that we've been doing a lot of work with lately is market rates, comparing what we're paying our employees versus what we've established as the fair market rate for that position. So that shows, different ways that you can do it. They don't have to be synchronous. They don't have to all run at the same time. And you can really use a flow to get 4, 5, 6. I think Wala's whole flow, I think I saw 6 or 7 different outputs that he gets from that flow. So one flow might be able to do multiple reports for you on a monthly basis. So and then that is the end of that. So we're going to jump right in. Hope everybody is now seeing. Are you seeing the prep
Yes, we're seeing
Oh,
your.
okay, good, because my green box disappeared. So I wanted to go through just these are very specific, practical things, tips, features in Tableau Prep that have really come to help me, or things that might help you. The first one, and this is a feature as of last year, and it's kind of hidden actually. There's this add description button right here. So in terms of documenting, if you're not just a shop of one, if maybe you have multiple, you may want to document what's going on in your step. This is our energy billing data, energy utilities usage data, right? Usage data, updated monthly, something like that. So you can put anything you want in there, and once you click off of it, takes just a second, it'll stay there. It's part of the viz. One thing that also has been added is if you do a step. So this is even more hidden because it doesn't show up unless you click it. You can now add descriptions on your flow steps. So if you have a flow step this is filtering to, it's a little slow, I apologize, to only primary utilities, right? And then you're done there. So if you have to come back here, like any good coder, I'm sure you come in here and then you leave it alone for 2 months and you come back in here and you have no idea what happened, what you're trying to accomplish with steps, right? So you remind yourself or let other people know, hey, this is what we're doing with this particular step. So that has been I think that came out in 2023.3, the ability to add those notes on there. So it'll be really helpful for your documentation in order to do that. So the next one here, this is, and I'm going to pop back up here. So this is a setting. Again, I love how Tableau likes to hide their things. This is an Excel input, and if you go to tables and hit union multiple tables, you get a bunch of options. So this is Excel, so you can search in folders, in a specific folder, and then you can have a file name and you can use wildcards. So we, about a year ago, had a project where we had to load in energy data. They had been keeping it in Excel format for 7 years. So we had to take 5 years worth of data and load it into a Tableau, to an actual data source. So we had to do that and we put all of the files in one folder. And what I had to do at the time, because this was not an option at the time, is had to go and select, okay, I need June, and I need that add June, and then I need to add July, or I could add them as multiple data sources and union them together. In this case, it will look for every file in a folder. You can, like I said, you can do a wildcard search. You can say just energy files. Not only that, you can say, I only want certain worksheets within a folder, certain worksheets from that data set. There are similar options available for if you're connected to a database. So if for some reason you have two data tables, you can union them together if they're named similarly, or you can list them similarly in order to do that. So number 3. Okay. So Deb mentioned some things that are in Tableau desktop that are not in Tableau Prep. There is at least one thing that is in Prep that is not in desktop. And that is the ability, if it loads, hopefully, that is the ability to, I call it self-reference the field name. Okay. So I'm going to pull up our field name, and I know we have a field name called EST. Okay. And it'll give you this error. It'll say a field name with this already exists. But instead of creating a separate field, if you needed to do a quick data clean, let's say if EST is null, I want it to say unknown. And then I can apply. And rather than having a separate field that has the clean data, you will basically just be writing over that field. So you can only self-reference in Tableau Prep, because if you did it in desktop, it would lose the reference. So, and because it does it in step-by-step order. So here, after this step is applied, that data is cleaned, and so everywhere it'll say it is, if it'll apply. All right. So everywhere after that's applied, that EST field will say unknown instead of null. So that's a data cleaning sim. So you don't have to create an extra field in order to do that. Okay, so this one is when you, I'm sure if you have spent any time in prep and you have fields that are the same from two different sources, when you do your join results, what you will get, and I apologize, these are not loading up as fast as I'm wanting them to.
That's all right. We're doing it.
Yep. Okay. So before it comes up, so when you join tables, if anything has the exact same field name, it'll add a -1. And then if you have a -1 already, it'll add a -2. So there's a function now, again, very recently added here on a clean step that says rename your fields. So here, if I'm comparing this example is I have an old data set and a new data set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a prefix to everything. And I'm going to say this is old _, right? And you can go ahead and click automatically rename new fields. That's if that data changes, and say rename. It's saying 0 right now because it's not pulling the data. But what that'll do is every field that comes from here will say old _. Or maybe it's a nomenclature difference. Maybe you get a file and they call it students. You want to call it persons. I don't know. It's just any nomenclature thing. And you want to say any reference to students needs to be changed to person, or any reference to employee. The same thing is you can rename the fields here, and you can do a wildcard change. You can say, I want to change any reference to student to any other name or amount, or so replace text. You can say if it includes first name, if it includes name, it doesn't need to say name, whatever it is, and then replace it with that. So then when those two things are joined together, you will have a complete set of fields that say old, and fields that don't have that. Or if you want to be real complete, you could add a new prefix to here. So just an idea as far as making sure you're understanding where those fields are coming from, make it easier to compare them. All right, now we get to talk about color. This is down here just before we start. This is a thing that came from the Tableau Prep user group. They are really big on color coding your flows to make sure you know what's going on. So they say, I feel like I'm going to get in an argument about back in school, which subject is which color, but that your main flow can be one color. And then your reference tables, if they're just adding reference data, can be a different color. And then maybe if it's additional data or additional processes, it can be a different color. This is a very simple thing, but if you have any step function, including data, and you add a step to it, if you add a clean step, it will be the same color as you started with. So if you're running a flow and you have a clean step, and then okay, I need to do a join step, it will remain that same color. If you add a new data point, it will come up as a different color. But if you stay in line, and it will keep that color. So if you're somebody that maybe it's getting a little too big, you can organize that color wise, and it'll just keep along those lines. So this is an example of where you have your main data flow on one color, you have reference tables on a red color, and then this is extra fields. I made these 3 separate shades of green because in case you didn't know, if you have a union, this is a great thing by Tableau, and you have your 3 clean fields. and again, I apologize. What will happen? It'll come up. It'll say, it'll have each of the fields listed there, and it will show by which color where the fields come from. So you can see account is in the color of these two. So it's very clear indication of, okay, well, if this one is missing these three, is that a data issue? Is it just not provided? Is it not going to be available? So really cool instances with color. Now we're getting on to one of my favorite things is parameters. So there are parameters in Tableau Prep. They're in this little button up here. I have two examples here that say there's a date filter and a department filter. So a couple things here you can do is this is set to run. So if I try to run this output right here, it will say, hey, I need a date filter. So if you're running a report that has to be a specific date or you want to run it for a particular month, you can set a parameter and just say every time you run it, it's going to ask for that month. Same thing with department. You have the dropdown. One thing I will say on date filter is date filter, it has to be a string parameter in Tableau Prep. Even though you can do in desktop, you can do date time parameters. It has to be a string in Tableau Prep. So you're going to have to do a little bit of calculation to compare that against if you have an actual date field. But so your output would be a filter by date or by department. And the other thing that you can do here is if you go to your output options, is you can also insert that parameter in the name of your file output or your worksheet. Here you could name this whatever, and you can blend the date filter. That's the parameter right there. So that's the date that we put in. Worksheet, you either have to put in a date, you have to use the whole parameter. You can't use a mix between your own text. But if you had something like law school or dental school, and just wanted to select department, it would create the file, and then the worksheet in Excel would be that department, whichever one you selected on that output. So, and I know I'm running long on time here, so I will try to wrap up here quickly. The last bit is this is just trying to keep your flows clean. There are two things that are here as far as grouping and then inserting flows. So if I select these three, and there's nothing going on right now, but if I realize these three things are something I'm going to have to do to multiple different data sources, multiple different data sets, if you select the three, you can do a little right click and you can save these steps as their own flow. So you can save the file and it'll go to and I've already saved it once here. And I've saved as my clean step file and I'm going to replace it. Yep. Okay. And then any other point, if you need it in another flow, or this is in anywhere, if you were in a new flow and you need to insert it, you could go right here and you could, no, not right there, sorry, on the button, you'll notice insert flow here at the bottom, and you can go insert flow, and I have to go and select my file, my clean step file, and that'll take just a second, hopefully. And it will insert those same three steps. So you can save those files to, if you have a lot of repetitive actions, you can save those so you don't have to recreate those and everything. The other thing that in terms of Tableau tip here is you can select these, and this is a pretty simple example, but if you take these, you can group them together and you get this little folder right here. So that just kind of organizes a little bit. You can see the group function. So maybe it's a bunch of similar functions. You can group them together for keeping it clean. And then you can visually ungroup them right here and see them if you need them, and then close them back up. I will say the groups will push everything out. When you expand the groups, they push everything else out of the way. And I'm going to show you a really crazy example here. This is a bigger group I did earlier, and I will expand it. So that's a crazy one. And notice it forced its way out and pushed this stuff over here, and it will make room for however the group's supposed to be set up. The one thing I will say on groups, the cool part of groups is if you move stuff around in here, you keep it, let's say, I want to put that right there for some reason. Actually, no, nope. Oh, it collapsed on me. I'm actually not going to be able to move this down. Once it makes its little square, it doesn't move, but I'll just say I'll move it here. it saves that positioning within the group. So you can close down the group like that. There is so that flow, I showed this as part of my PowerPoint. This was one of the flows. So this is flow example right here. When you insert it into a thing, and I'm going to insert the flow right here, browse, go to desktop, my flow example. When you insert it, it is not, and I apologize, that is going to take just a second. It does not keep your formatting from the flow file. So when you do that insert, it does not keep the same flow. It does not keep the same as I'll flip back over here. So this is the way it was organized in the file, and it just kind of made its own. It kind of flipped it upside down, actually. So it won't keep the same format. But again, if you were to group that all together and put it in the group and open it back up, it will keep where the things are. Sorry, realized I wanted to do one more thing up here. So one of the benefits here, if we're talking about our colors, is your color references are also in your joins. So if you're consistent on keeping your red colors, your reference tables, and your blue colors, your main flow. Okay, sorry, not sure why that's not coming up, but when you do your join, it'll show the red and the blue. So you'll know that, okay, if I want to do my left join or right join based on if it's red or if it's blue. And then so any of your joins, so you can do the blues and the reds and the greens depending, so that's just a value add if you keep your colors consistent. So I have run a full gamut there, so I think I'm going to be done with that. I apologize for going long. But I hope that that both the strategies and maybe some of these tips will help you with your Tableau prep flows and keep them nice and clean and organized, and keep your reports nice and fresh.
Well, Matt, that was awesome. I definitely learned some new things. I had no idea that you could group the steps together like that. I can't wait to have an excuse to use it. So I did see one question that came up in the chat box. I think a lot of other people kind of chimed in with some answers, but I was just going to read it out and let you chime in if you would like to as well.
Okay.
Marie said, I noticed that this is being used with lots of Excel documents. Is it the same when using different databases, or do you need to use different software first to mesh the databases together?
You do not need to use anything to mesh. You can use multiple different databases. I am using Excel here because you saw there were some performance issues. I'm remote on a VPN. I didn't want to have to deal with also accessing into our database. That's the only reason I use database here. We used Oracle databases mixed with Excel, mixed with text files. Actually, we have some text files. Once Tableau Prep gets them in, it treats them all the same, except for one thing. And it's really funny because this is one of those things I learned on LinkedIn the other day. Your case sensitivity will be based on the case sensitivity of your data connection, it's not locked in. So if your data comes from a source that is case sensitive, then all of your functions will be case sensitive on that data. If it comes from a case insensitive data source, then those functions will be case insensitive.
Something else I didn't know. If there are any other questions for Matt, please feel free to follow up with him in the chat box.
Or LinkedIn.
Or LinkedIn, yeah.
I got like 6 or 7 LinkedIns while we were chatting here. I will respond to them as soon as I can.
That's fantastic. Well, I really appreciated that. And yeah, anytime you want to present, just let us know. And I will turn it over to Roshni to make our next swag raffle announcement.
So we are very close to drawing names, but in the meantime, if I can get my mouse in the right place, I'm going to put links to both the prize and the swag form or the raffle form in the chat. So I'm just going to talk through this a little bit, and we'll actually do our closing and then do raffle winners. It'll also make it easier to edit. So here we go. So we do have a couple more minutes. We're gonna go through our regular closing. We really want to know what you thought of today's meeting. This is our first like all prep meeting. If you want more of this content, we want to know that so that we can find people who will be willing and able to present on that. If there's other topics you want to hear about, let us know that as well. We do have the meeting scheduled for September 17th, our next HETUG meeting. We're looking for someone to interview like we did Ashleigh. You don't have I mean, Ashleigh set the bar pretty high. You don't have to meet that. You could talk about a Tableau public, dashboard that you've seen or whatever. We'll have Eric Atchison from Arkansas State University, or the Arkansas State University system. I want to say go Razorbacks, but I think that's wrong. I'm not entirely sure. It's going to be talking about data suppression in Tableau. And then based on some conversations that we've had in the Higher Ed Tableau Slack around XML, what you can do with it, I'm going to do a little bit of an overview. Oh, great, I was good on the Razorbacks. You can thank Green Day for that. I'm going to do a little dig into the XML that's underneath a Tableau workbook, so you can see what how the XML is structured, and some small edits that you can make to sort of speed up when you're making updates to dashboards. We'll also talk about Tableau prep flows, because Tableau prep flows underneath the hood are JSON files. Another just basic text, both text XML and JSON are both text formats, but they're really easy to understand and edit if you absolutely need to. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We again are always looking for folks to present at HETUG, and so the dates are in the present at HETUG form that I already put a link into. And there are so many things happening this week, next week, down in April. So here are a few of those things. So tomorrow, the CCC tug. I think I put an extra C in there. Let me try that again. The CCC tug, the California Community Colleges tug, is having their birthday party. They turn 1, and there's a really cool viz contest that I believe submissions are already past due. Oh, look at that. Birthday. Or I guess Ginny, I think you mentioned that in the chat. So birthday cakes just flew everywhere. Yeah, so they're having a little viz contest about birth dates, which should be kind of cool. Tableau is doing a webinar on the future of Tableau. It's all, I believe, from what the descriptions sound like, it's all going to be about, some of the AI features that are going to be available in Tableau, or are currently available. The Data Plus Maps tug is having their very first tug meeting on August 28th. And then again, the Tableau conference save the date is out there. If you go to that QR code and put in your information, you'll get updates when registrations open, when the call for presentations happens, and all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna refresh our, probably should have had Wheel of Names open already. My bad. So before I'm going to say thank you first, and then we're going to go back to do the swag raffle. So I want to thank everyone for coming today. Ashleigh, who I believe is now on a plane, Matt, and Deb for presenting on Tableau Prep, and all of you for attending. We couldn't do the HETUG without all of you guys. We couldn't be the tug, the HETUG, get that, without all of you. So we're really thankful that you're part of our community.